Animal Crossing is not a series you'd generally call an action game or an RPG, you know, adventure-y and stuff, because it's not any of those things. If I had to describe Animal Crossing in one word, I'd just say it's chill. Anyone can play Animal Crossing and chill. Heck, most people from my school who don't even play video games went out and grabbed a Switch just for Animal Crossing New Horizons, which, ironically, I play the least out of any of them now. But originally, Animal Crossing was going to have a lot less crossing and a lot more monsters, battles, and dungeons. You see Isabelle? That thing? That's a cold-blooded demon hunter right there. This is all because the Animal Crossing series started development as a dungeon crawler, and interestingly enough, would have actually released as one too, had it not been for one key factor that changed everything along the way. So today on the Mini Myths of Gaming, we'll be taking a look at the original version of Animal Crossing from its development, and why it turned out the way it did. So let's jump into it. First, what exactly was this dungeon crawling Animal Crossing game going to play like? Well, while no footage or screenshots of Animal Crossing's beta exist for this build, details about the game's development and gameplay were given in an early Iwata Asks, and this game was going to be way different than how it turned out. Also, keep in mind, this version of the game doesn't actually exist, and what does exist isn't very dungeon-y, like, at all. So instead here, I'll be using footage from one of my favorite dungeon crawlers of all time, Fate, to give you a better idea of what the game could have played like. It's better than staring at my villager just kind of doing things, and also because it's my channel and I just feel like it. Get wrecked. Anyways, when the developers started thinking of concepts for a game, as most people would do when making a game, they mainly focused on trying to make asynchronous multiplayer gameplay, which basically means different people could play the same game at different times and affect the world in different ways. The game would be set in a huge RPG-styled field, and multiple people could affect each other's gameplay. And it's all because one of the game's creators, Katsuya Iguchi, couldn't play any of his games with his kids, as they were all asleep by the time he'd get home with the time constraints of game development around its peak. So he wanted a way to play where the kids could be adventuring and exploring a dungeon during the day, but then let's say something happens in the game and they get stuck at a certain point. He could then use their progress as a hint and progress further in the dungeon later that night, passing the torch to them the next day. Combine that with a villager in a Viking helmet and a couple of raccoons with swords, and you've got yourself the basis for an Animal Crossing dungeon adventure. Assuming you played the game at real-world time and you're not just a time traveler or something, it's this aspect of day-by-day progression that made it into the game's final version, which on its own is pretty freaking cool. But from there, the rest of the game changes completely. The villager was still set to be the main character of this RPG, but not in the way you'd think. Normally, the hero of an RPG like Cloud, Link, or Joker would have a weapon and some sort of magical ability, you know, do all these crazy sword slashes and even build a harem of party members for the end of the game. But in Animal Crossing's original concept, the villager was completely powerless, and you'd instead use them to recruit animals from the game's overworld to fight for you, while you give them commands with the buttons and just watch it all play out. Each animal would have their own different strengths and weaknesses, and it was designed so you'd have to get to a point where you couldn't progress with your current party, where you would then have to get another player to help. Oh yeah, and at this point all the animals walked on 4 legs, so that definitely would have been a little weird. That aside, it kinda sounds like Fire Emblem and Pokemon Smash with Shin Megami Tensei to make a game genre which I can't even begin to describe without making that exact analogy, but it sounded like a ton of fun to play, and as a side note, speedrunners would have totally found a way to play alone and beat the game in like 10 minutes tops. The game would have taken place spread across 4 different islands, one for each of the 4 seasons, and there'd be a dungeon on each of these islands to beat and explore, which kinda sounds like the island hopping you can do in Animal Crossing New Horizons, except with a lot more dungeons in the latter. Now obviously the Animal Crossing we have today is nothing like this, I mean, except for the fact there's animals in it, so yay? But for the more villagey type Animal Crossing, there was one major factor that caused everything to change. The story of Animal Crossing, the Dungeon Crawler, all starts with a DD, as in D for dragon-sized, but also for disk drive, as the game was originally being developed for the now cancelled add-ons to the Nintendo 64, and it's for this reason exactly that everything in the game had to be drastically changed from the original concept. Let's just say their ambitions for this game could not fit in a normal N64 cart, so once they were told the 64DD got the axe, they had to start cutting a lot of content. Alright, so we don't have space for 4 islands in their dungeons, so let's cut it down to just 1. And also it's gotta be smaller, no deep dungeons either, and oh look, it's Animal Crossing. you can kinda see where this is going. There's not really anything to do with a world of that size except for maybe walk around and collect fruit, but having this grand overworld with dungeon adventures and combat, all with a cast of different animals and multiplayer, was a lot more impossible than before. But that's actually okay. It's because of these changes they started to develop more village elements for the games, like bells in stores, Tom Nook, fishing. Heck, somewhere along the way this chain of events led to copious amounts of Isabelle hentai. I could definitely live without that one, but point being, over time the Animal Crossing we've all come to know and love was created, with the same gameplay flow as before, just in a different form, that's managed to hold up almost 20 years later. Since its creation, the Animal Crossing series has come so far from what it started as, even going back to the concept of islands and real-time online multiplayer. The gameplay flow, while originally from a dungeon crawler, is something that still works with how the series has evolved today, and it's one of the reasons why this game is so chill. No matter what you can accomplish in your village in any amount of time, you can always come back tomorrow for something completely new, and I feel like it's for this reason that the series is such a blast to play. While Animal Crossing as a dungeon crawler definitely was a cool idea, and something I think could still be revisited in a different way, the new chill Animal Crossing that came from the original game's limitations definitely benefited from its earlier version's designs, and without it, might not have filled the same special role that it does today. This has been the Mini Myths of Gaming, thanks for watching. And that is all for today, guys. Before we get on with the usual closer, I just wanted to mention that I have a Twitter and a Discord server. So if you want to make it to the premieres first or get some behind the scenes spicy takes, follow me there and join the server. Hope to see you there. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, let me know by dropping a like down below. Always helps the channel out a ton. Or you can leave a comment down below telling me what you think. And as always, for more videos like this one every week, don't forget to smash that squishy red subscribe button to stay updated on videos right when they come out. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll be back in a flash.